Welcome to Take It from the Ironwoman. My name is Susanne Müller, your host and the Ironwoman. This podcast is about empowering yourself and others to make real changes in the world. You will hear from everyday, smart, sophisticated, hip people like you and me. Not everybody has to be an Ironwoman to impress the world. Together, we will learn from the sports and business leaders how you can become a more successful person as an entrepreneur or a leader. It's one step at a time, one day at a time. Take your steps now. Take your big steps now. Join me on this journey to success. Take it from the Ironwoman. We only have special guests, and today we really have a treat. An Ironman. He did not only Ironman, but he also did Ironman Lake Placid, which I did, but a few years earlier. But we can talk forever about Lake Placid and how magical it is. Let's talk about Timmy Howard. I'm a hot dog loving endurance athlete whose life has been anything but normal. My life has been a journey of heartbreak, resilience, and redemption. After battling homelessness and drug addiction for 12 years, I finally hit rock bottom and made the decision to change my life and achieve sobriety. Congratulations, Timmy. Tell us your story. I mean, this is what we read in your biography, but tell us your story, and we're very honored to have you.
Absolutely. I'm super happy to be here. Thanks for having me. It's kind of a crazy story. Not making it long and super drawn out. I just had a rough childhood growing up. A lot of drugs in the house, a lot of alcohol. There was a lot of abuse and just things going on. I never really felt like I fit in with my family. Fast forward to when I'm in high school, nothing's really better. My mom and my dad had split. I am living, kind of bouncing between their houses. My mom had met another woman and they were together at this time. My mom had pulled me into her bedroom and said, hey, she just kind of sat me down on the bed and just very bluntly said, hey, I just want you to know your dad's not your real dad. I don't know who he is. I had a rough night and basically slept with two different people. I don't know who either of them were. And that's how you came to be. So at that moment, it was kind of like a light switch went off because I got treated very differently. So my brother, luckily, nothing really happened to him. He wasn't really like abused or anything bad happened. It was all directed towards me. And I never really understood why. And then when she told me that, it was kind of like a light switch went off. And that just sent my life into a whirlwind. That's when I started drinking a lot. Eventually led down the road to my mom started giving me pain pills. She and her girlfriend at the time had gotten addicted to pain pills. We started taking those and we continued using those for a few years. And then I was introduced to heroin from her. And then my mom and her girlfriend and I used heroin together for probably about 3 years until I just got to the point where I was completely just couldn't function. And then I became homeless, and I was homeless for a very long time. And that's kind of like the short abbreviated version. But yeah, that's kind of what led me to where I'm at in Indy.
I don't find any words. Obviously, you have been on many podcasts or even a film, and we're going to talk about that later. When you're telling or retelling that story, how does that feel? I mean, it's so heavy.
Yeah, the first couple times it was pretty rough. And I say when we were filming the documentary, it was very therapeutic in a sense because we had 5-hour sit down interviews where I'm just on film for 5 hours and I'm telling my story and we're digging into it piece by piece. And it brought up a lot of stuff that I completely forgot and I had pushed out of my life. The more I talk about it, the easier it gets. But it's still like I'll come home sometimes. I recorded a podcast a few weeks ago with friend Allie. And I came home after that and I told my wife, I was like, I'm exhausted. My anxiety is running wild right now. It's just because like that past trauma just kicks up and your body goes into fight or flight from what it was used to as a kid.
Yeah, and it takes time. It's not that it was 2 years. It was a long, long time. And you need to digest that, and the abuse and the drugs take a toll on you.
Absolutely. Yeah, they took a big toll on me.
And now tell us, how did you get then into the running or triathlon? I can understand when you hit rock bottom, that's when it hits you. I need to do something with my life. Was there somebody there to help you, or how did you get out of that hole?
I was already just absolutely exhausted. I had been living on the streets for 6 years. I was in Dayton, Ohio for 3 years. I was in Indianapolis, Indiana for the following 3 years. I just hit absolute rock bottom. I had owed a drug dealer some money. They kidnapped me and they basically beat me up really bad to the point of almost death. Kind of just like tossed me out into the road. And I ended up going into a hospital where they were just going to discharge me. But I basically found some loopholes through being on the streets where if you tell them that you're suicidal and you're a heroin addict, then they'll detox you. Otherwise, if you just go in and tell them you're an addict, they're not going to help you. But if you tell them you're suicidal, they have to keep you. They did that. They ended up treating me. And then I immediately went into a halfway house. A friend of mine from back home, it was just by chance. I had went to the library like a week or two prior and told her I was tired and looking for help. And she had looked up all these halfway houses in the area. And she ended up connecting me with one. And the second that I got out of the hospital, I went straight to the rehab. And that's kind of where I was. And at the rehab, I saw a flyer for a local organization. They're national, but it was a local chapter of an organization called Back on My Feet. So they're an organization that runs with the homeless in order to empower them and change their lives. I had never done anything like that. I still smoked like 2 packs a day. I wasn't a runner by any means. I hated running in school. I played all kinds of sports, but I just hated running. But I was like, hey, whatever, I'm trying to change my life. We'll just go and see how it works. And I showed up, and the second I got there, somebody just gave me a hug and they told me that they were happy that I was there. And it was like that little moment, things just clicked. And it was like, okay, this is what I'm supposed to feel like. This is acceptance. They don't care where I've been, they don't care what I've done. They're just happy that I'm here right now and they want to see me do better. And that's literally how I hit the ground running, started running with them all the time.
It's just that sign of love that you were
Absolutely.
missing for such a long time. And somebody says, we're happy to have you.
Yeah. Yeah. It was absolutely life changing.
What were the distances? You went running with them once a week, or how did that look like?
I met with them 3 times a week. And I mean, when I was showing, I was very sick when I got in there. I was probably 130 pounds. My normal average weight's about 185 now. I was very thin for my sake. And it just took some time. I would run like a mile and then I would completely die because I was sprinting like full speed trying to keep up with these guys. And it's just gradually progressed. And they actually, Back on My Feet, something that they did and they still do, is they got me my first pair of running shoes. I got to like go to the store and pick out this pair of shoes, which was awesome because when I went into the hospital, I had blisters all over my feet from being homeless. I could barely walk. So to go to that into this nice, brand new, fresh pair of shoes was totally life changing. I started running with these people. I realized they had something that I wanted. It was their energy, their passion to give back. It was their drive. And I was just, okay, I want what these people have. So as a typical addict, most people would sign up for like a 5K or something else. I was like, no, I want to do a marathon. That seems like the cool thing to do. So yeah, so that was my first race. I trained 4 months and ran a marathon. And it was awesome because I had a friend of mine who was with me in the program since pretty much day one. He was one of the people that mentored me. He paced me through the whole marathon. It was really neat. So it was fun to kind of do that. And I was hooked on endurance sports at that point.
It's another addiction, right? But the green addiction, much healthier options. But you also need to find a balance of not running too much.
I found that out the hard way.
From zero to marathons, tell us that journey.
Yeah. I mean, the first marathon went great because my body, I think it just didn't have enough time to break down yet. But I didn't slow down. I very easily, you're exactly right. I traded that addiction in for another. And I was loving all the praise I was getting and all the, hey, look what he's doing. He's doing so good. So I'm like, well, what's the next hardest thing I can do? I started looking at all these ultra marathons and my genius mindset, freshly sober, is that I was going to do, I think like a 50K to start. Well, I'll train for a 50 miler because then I'll be over prepared. That was my thinking. And looking back, I'm a run coach now. You are an absolute psycho. But yeah, that's where I was at the time. And I literally ran myself to the point where I had to have full reconstructive ankle surgery because I just kept snapping my tendons on the trails. I played volleyball growing up. I was constantly rolling my ankles. So then when I started trail running, it was just, but yeah, I kept running. Even the day that I snapped my ankle to have surgery, I was 5 miles into a 10-mile run and most people would stop. I felt it pop it just made me mad, and I continued to run faster because I knew I'd just done something like that. I wasn't kicking my brains. It takes like 2 years for your body to rewire your brain from heroin. And I definitely wasn't all there yet. That's for sure.
That's like me when I fell and my knee and my shin was all bloody. And then I took the subway home in New York and somebody said, "What happened to you?" So I looked like a raped woman. And I said, "I only ran 6 miles today." I mean, this is how stupid it's. In a way, you're in a trance or in a different world. But yeah, that's what it is. That's what we do as runners.
Your mental state is fixated on that.
And now Lake Placid. I mean, I have to say, Lake Placid is just the most magical place that you potentially can do the Ironman. I come from Switzerland. I'm used to beauty with the lake and the mountains, but Lake Placid, I don't know, what is there? Something, the water, it must be magical.
It was gorgeous. Mirror Lake is just, it's one of the best swims you'll ever do in your life. Mm-hmm. And don't get me wrong, the bike course and the run course are very hard. The bike course especially, you have to have nerves of steel to go down the Keene descent.
How fast did you go?
I was in the 50s, which is terrifying on a tri bike because you hit one little pebble and you're in trouble. But yeah, so that was terrifying. And I don't ever want to do that again.
I could not agree more with you. I think I was on 36 and I was like, oh my God, what if something happened?
Well, and I think the hard part of that race is like, it's a 2-loop course. Mm-hmm. So you do it the first time and then I got to go back and do this again. And luckily I had just beat the rain. I just got off my second descent when it started raining. I would not have wanted to been on the side of that mountain when it was raining. I got lucky.
I have to say, I think I talked to the weather gods and the whole day was no rain. And this is almost unheard of. It was a little on the hot side, but I can only imagine how it is when it rains.
It wasn't too long. It was just like a pop-up shower. But I'd say on that bike course, it's just long enough. Like you don't want to be on it.
No, on the run is okay, but not on the bike.
Absolutely.
What do you think when you are on that triathlon course? And for the listeners, we always talk on that one event, but I mean, you train a year basically for that event. So how was that for you to train for the Ironman? Again, it's a crazy distance. It's not a 5K or Olympic distance triathlon. It's the big one.
Yeah, I said it in a lot of my Instagram posts leading up to it. I'm not a very competitive person. I just enjoy going out to see if I can challenge myself. So the race, to be honest with you, I could care less about it. It's the journey that leads me up to there. I'm part of a triathlon group. All the group rides that we got to do, all the group swims, all the runs that we got to do together. I lead a women's only triathlon training group. So to be able to like train with them while I'm doing my own thing, that's what I enjoy. It's getting out, it's meeting people. Yeah, so I was on Team Athletic Brewing. So there was actually 10 additional people that were on the team from all parts of the United States. It was really neat to virtually train with all of them and then get that experience of we all meet at Lake Placid and we all get to race together. So like building all those bonds just with a digital connection and then seeing each other and celebrating everything was incredible.
And it's a non-alcoholic beer. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah. So Athletic Brewing, they are a beer company. They're based here in the United States, and I had become an ambassador for them a few years back. I love their products. I actually discovered their products when I was filming a podcast. I had always been a little hesitant because it tastes exactly like alcohol. Is that going to lead me back down into using again or drinking? Turns out it didn't, which is fantastic. For me, it just satisfies a craving, like a social craving, a taste craving. So I ended up becoming an ambassador for them. And then it just so happened I had been wanting to do an Ironman. I had done a few half Ironmans, and they do cool things. They set up teams for Ironman. They set up teams for Leadville, big trail races. And I applied to be on the Ironman team and I got accepted because financially, it's just Ironman, they're expensive. I don't want to shell out that kind of money. So it was really nice. I got accepted by them and they ended up covering the entry fee and everything. So it was really neat.
Wow, I didn't know that. I always say and we talked before, like your hat, my hat is $5,000 at least, right? If not more.
Yeah. And I got very lucky. They ended up footing the bill for it. And I mean, they're a fantastic company. Like They donate 2% of their sales back to the trail systems in the United States. If you ever get a chance to look them up, they're a fantastic company, and there's a reason for their success, and it's what they do behind the scenes.
Oh, congratulations. So be proud of what you have done. Be nice to yourself and enjoy swimming, biking, and the running. Thank you so much for all the insights that we have from you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
What are you taking away from this podcast? Wow, we can learn so much. Take it from the Ironwoman. We have episodes every Monday. We have cool guests with inspiring stories. Don't miss out. Come and join us every week. And Take It from the Ironwoman is also the book Global Business Coaching with Sports Parallels. Download it or get it in your local bookstore. And follow us and like us on all your preferred platform where you are listening to the podcast. Thank you.